Hi everyone, my name is Aykukul. I am a visiting lecturer for this semester of digital and social media, and today we're having a guest lecturer, Ksenia Diodorova. Let me introduce her. Ksenia is an art director, visual anthropologist, and co-founder of the Gonzo Research and Art Studio, which specialization is in social and cultural projects. And based on my experience, Gonzo Design made a lot of multimedia websites, and studio works with the themes of interethnic and interconfessional diversity, labor migration, preservation of cultural heritage. And Ksenia herself manages research projects, creation of complex digital projects, strategies, educational programs, and methodologies from scratch. And we planned this guest lecture in terms of to show our students how to combine art and digital media. And Ksenia, the room is yours.
Great. Hi, everybody. And thank you, Aykukul, for introduction and for inviting me for this workshop. Guys, actually, I would be so much grateful if you could switch on your cameras, please, because for me, it's still so nice to see your faces and to see your reactions. And furthermore, I'm going to ask questions during my workshop. So it would be very nice if we could see each other. Thank you in advance. Actually, since it's my first time I'm giving a lecture for you, it would be extremely great if you could make super short introduction of yourself. Just tell your name and what are you doing? So what is your focus of your work, so that I maybe guide myself during the lecture better to the questions that you are focused on. I will maybe ask to start Asel, because I see her. And then Asel, you can just pass the word to the next student.
Right. Hello. Good day, everyone. My name is Asel. I'm working as Assistant Manager of Student Affairs at the University of Central Asia, and I'm based in Naren campus.
Great.
Thank you. Seher.
Sihar won't be able. She just went to complete the campus tour for our delegation from Kipres. My name is Jamal. I am a faculty coordinator here, also based in Naren of University of Central Asia. And I'm very excited, Ksenia, for this lecture.
Great, thank you. Is anybody else here?
Suhail is here from my list.
Nina, Manisha.
Oh, Maiguna is also here. Maiguna, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Hello. Sorry, my microphone is not working. Because of that, I will speak from Manisha's telephone. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Maikuna. I'm sophomore student majoring in communication and media. Yeah.
So you are together with Manisha, right?
I have my phone actually, but I couldn't unmute myself. I don't know why.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Nina, Darika, Rustam, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Nina, could you please tell a couple of words about yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Nina. I'm a computer science major, a senior, and I wanted to join this lecture because I found the topic very interesting. So I look forward to learning more.
Great, thank you.
As for me, I'm senior student and I'm writing my diploma project in visual communication in digital marketing. So I think this topic will be very interesting and useful for me.
Great, thank you. Rustam, hi. Thank you for switch on your camera.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rustam. I am communication media student, junior student. I'm really excited about this lecture because I believe that during this lecture, I can hear practical lessons, real world experience, and hope to find out my own path in the field of communication media, because I didn't find out what I really want to focus on at this point of my life.
Great. I hope you will have some inspiration. Aida, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Should I turn on my camera as well?
Yes, it would be so great. Thank you.
I was just trying to connect from the laptop and it took me some time, and now I don't really know what I have to talk about.
Just tell what is the main focus of your occupation and studies.
Okay, so currently I'm a senior student majoring in communications and media. So I think this presentation about the art and the connection between art and the digital media is quite close to my area. And I personally do enjoy art, so I would love to know more about your presentation.
Great. Okay, let's start, because a little bit, I see that some people are still joining us, but we can connect with them a little bit later. First of all, I would love to start sharing screen. And can you see it?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, we can see.
Yes, I don't know if you had a chance to see what kind of projects we are dealing with, but today we have quite short meetings, so I will not be able to show you all of works because they are quite big. But anyway, I will show you the website where you can see all of the projects which I'm going to talk about, and I would love to show you some kind of the topics we are working with, so that we have some perspective of the field. So Gonzo design actually now is not Gonzo design anymore. It's the first point and very important one, because Gonzo design actually started 16 years ago, 14th of February, in the Valentine's Day. We started Gonzo design, and at the first half of our life, first 7 years, we were working like a branding platform and conceptual design studio. So we created visual platforms for commercial institutions and communicative strategies. But in 2013, we totally changed the direction of our work to cultural and social innovation. And I will tell you a little bit later why it happened so. But now you can see in our portfolio projects, all of them combine anthropology research, quite deep working with communities and social issues, such as, for example, like with these two projects are the games for developing soft skills among students in the schools in the regions of Russia and post-Soviet countries. Like the project that we did together with the Amsterdam University and Anthropology Studies with imperfection words. It's like a dictionary game You can see also like multimedia exhibitions, like you can see videos, books as well, offline and online expositions according to the topic of heritage, of ethnography, and all of them can be combined by two main and very important things. All of them are between art and human rights. So all of them have very quite tough social topic or social issue, but by means of multimedia, digital art, we try to promote and raise awareness and make some kind of gamification and implementation in public, quite serious topics. So I opened some of the projects that actually I will show you during our workshop, but just I would love you to see that all of them have quite different form, despite the fact all of them are digital storytelling. All of them are very different for their visual genres and way of visualization. So this one, or for example, this one is actually was designed for Kyrgyzstan. It's about Tushki's carpets that mothers make for their children. And this project tells the story what the symbols of these carpets, what meaning they have and what story behind. And this actually project was designed for the NGO that works with female rights and prevent early marriages, forced marriages, in Central Asia. And so here we take quite beautiful and quite warm way to talk about the importance of respect inside the family and about meanings of traditional meanings of happiness and norma inside families. So, and here you can see like how the carpet and the text of the carpet start to talk with us, and how the visual patterns have this textual, symbolic, ritual meanings of a story of the people behind them. Also, we have quite a big project about psychoneurological asylum in Russia, which is it calls in Russia like closed institution where people with mental health diseases, very tough diseases, spend all of their life. And we did a project like to raise awareness about what are these institutions, how they exist, how they work, and what people actually need inside them. But it also was created in interactive digital multimedia online, and also a couple of exhibitions and books and etc. So I showed you just a couple of things. I think that after our workshop, you can see it much deeper, not so fast like I show you now. I just want to give you some observation of the things that we are working with. And now I start my presentation. So today I'm going to talk about how we apply digital communication and multimedia skills for human rights, and how we can combine social issues and social problems and processes, how we can affect and impact society by means of digital art and by means of digital communication and multimedia. So how we, on the border between aesthetic, between digital technology, we affect human relations and patterns of human behavior, and how we can do it and what tools we use to achieve that. So actually the story started in 2001 when I first, for the first time, just by occasion, I was invited to join scientists of ethnography and anthropology to join their expedition in the deep village in Russia. And I was just, they invited me just to take some pictures on my camera because they told we are normally working with texts and we cannot show this text anymore. We need some visuals. So you're making photos, please go with us and make some material for us. And I said, why not? But for that time, like 22 years ago, for me, it was just, you know, some fun to go with friends and take some pictures in the region that I never had been before. But then I came there and it was, you know, the village of such a type where people have, I don't know, if they need emergency, if the woman is pregnant, they have to wait for the car for maybe 1 or 2 days. So it's really very deep, located village, which is almost cut from the big cities and from all the life that we normally experience in our life. And I was very surprised in the very first day because I realized that I'm in Russia, but here people talk some different language, different Russian language. And I realized that I have to keep silent and get used to how people communicate with each other so that to be more clear and more accessible for them, because the stylistic and the way that they communicated with each other, despite we had one like same language, was totally different. And each day I was discovering different communicative codes, different behavior patterns, different rituals, different values in their life and their relationships between each other. And when I came back to St. Petersburg in the big city to my normal life, I realized that it's maybe was the most powerful experience in my life to discover by means of photography, by means of visual art, what are difference between people, difference between communities, how interesting and how important is to make this visual research, which make yourself actually much more wise, much more wealth, much more active, which gives you a lot of inspirations. And from that very year, each my vacation, each my holiday, I started to spend with anthropologists and ethnographists, traveling around the world and making this visual research of people. But it was only my hobby. So by that time, Gonzo Design was doing graphics for different companies and strategies. But in 2013, something happened. And we did, in my vacations, I went to Tajikistan to start quite big project, but for that time I didn't know it was to be big, and it was the project about labor migrants from Central Asia in Russia. And I spent 1 month in Pamir in Tajikistan, I will show you now part of this project. I went in the Bartank Valley, which is full of small villages, to meet parents of labor migrants. So not the labor migrants themselves in Russia, but their parents who stayed there in Tajikistan. And I started to talk with those people who had their children by that moment in Russia. And then I came back to Russia and met their children. And so the project resulted, as you can see on the screen, like parents in Tajikistan and their children who were working by that time in Russia. And they meet. So in this spread of the book, in the digital project, they meet each other in these couples of pictures, but in real life, they hadn't met each other, sometimes for 3, 5, sometimes for 24 years. And on the spread of the book, they meet each other. And so by this conceptual key, I started to tell the story about the roots of migration, why people do leave their countries, their parents, their homes, and go to work to Russia. What do they experience? And the project actually calls In the Cold, and it's some kind of the metaphor about climatic cold in mountains where people still live in the villages, and parents of my subjects, and social cold that their children experience being in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And then it resulted, and actually when I came back from Tajikistan, it still, I want to recall, yes, that it still was my hobby. So it was just, one hand was doing like design for commercial companies, different packages and communicative strategies. And during the nights, I was doing this. But this topic by that year, 2013, was quite sensitive and very bright, represented in Russia. And I didn't expect that, but a lot of media wanted to make a publication about that. And one day, The Guardian emailed me and asked me for publication for this project. And that's how my hobby converted to something more than hobby. So it was the book published about these stories of the families. There were different exhibitions around the world, and there were, so here you can see some pictures of that. There was exhibition also and the presentation of the book in Italy, and a lot of media wanted to talk about this project. And so that was the moment how we stopped to be design studio and we stopped to be Gonzo Design. And because after this, we met with my business partner and my friend, with whom we started Gonzo Design, and we started to discuss, wow, look at this. We used our design skills to make this project beautiful, very visual, very talkative, very immersive, interactive. So what usually designers do, because designers work with function, they work with aesthetics, and they work with technology. And we use these skills to talk about social issue. But it's really very interesting to use our skills and our experience in design and visual art to impact the society. And for this, like for that day, we decided that it's much more probably for us interesting and difficult to stop to make, I don't know, packages and graphic for business, and started to apply our experience and visual skills and marketing skills and strategies to social issues. And so from 2013, we started to do this. I think now this combination of technology, of digital tools, multimedia, and visual aesthetics and poetics, and these tough social issues, that what make our projects quite known around the world. And it's quite important that each of this project also has this part of anthropology research piece. So we not only make visualization or form of the product, like whatever it is, it's digital multimedia, or it's offline exhibition, or it's book. We also do from 6 months to several years anthropology researches. We do a lot of travels to talk to the people, to make interviews, and to gather multimedia materials. So actually, Rustam told that he still hasn't decided yet what he's going to focus in his life. And I know that after my workshops and after our educational projects, very often students stop doing design and start to work with social issues. Now I would love to tell you about some tools that allow us to work with sensitive topics and to change some mindsets, behavior patterns, some processes in the society by means of digital technology and art. But first of all, I would love to talk about the definition of what is sensitive topic is. And that's the moment when I would love to ask my first question to you. Please, you already told your name, so no need to repeat it again, but I would love each of you tell what is the main issue in society for you? What I don't know, problem that you see around in the world for now is the most sensitive and the most important and the most resonating for you? Aykakul, you also can answer, actually.
So, what's my name? My name is Aykakul. And the main issue for me in society is, I think, actually, there are several issues. For example, poverty, some colonial remnants, and I don't know, the gender inequality. Let's say gender inequality. For me, it's the main issue.
Okay, thank you. Just pass the word to somebody.
I think I'm gonna just pick up my students. Menes.
Yeah, hello. From my perspective, I guess the main issue for myself would be different to the one I would see in society. The one in society could be unemployment.
Okay, thank you. Just pass the word to somebody next.
Okay, Rustam.
My name is Rustam, and the main issue for me for over 5 years is migration. When Ksenia told this issue, I'm the person who extremely familiar with that, because I was born in Khorog, raised in Dushanbe, and my parents are citizens of Russia. So why I consider that issue is a big problem, because the official statistic that, for example, in open sources, it's really reduced, because from my perspective, I can say that every family members of Tajikistanis have already like migrated to Russia to earn money and send this money to their families. And mostly all these people are focused around the rural regions, for example, in Bartang, Oro, Gibao, these really distant areas. And I consider this as a big issue, because I think that the government does not create job opportunities, and this leads to these major problems that people immigrate from their country and there is no one left to live in these places.
Yes, thank you, Rustam. And it's so that you know about Bartan Valley, so you know very well what I'm talking about. Sorry. Oops. Rustam, please pass the words to somebody next.
I deny. Or Kishibek.
Zibek?
Okay,
Okay.
Adana is here. Yeah. So my name is Adonai, and don't really know if I have issue. Just
We don't hear you.
a second, sorry. I think there is a problem with my microphone. My name is Adonai, and like I don't really like know how to answer to the question.
Like what like around yourself, what resonate you in society, what you think you would love to change? Okay, I think Adonai has some problem with her microphone. Sehar.
Hi. So my name is Seher, and main issue for me is conflict of consent between different genders and even maybe different cultures, societies, people with different ideologies, sometimes even in the same society. And when we cannot come on the same ground of what is the meaning of consent in any aspect of life, that's the main issue for me, and I would like to work on it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jamal.
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Jamal. I'm glad to see that more and more students are joining this workshop. So the main issue is, well, I think there are a few, but what Rustam told earlier, I think it's important. We, not only in Gabao, not only in Tajikistan, but in Kyrgyzstan, we all facing this issue of migration when due to different reasons, people have to leave their families. And there are positive things like, I think with pandemic and with distance working opportunities, now people can choose if they have to go somewhere or if they can stay even in one city, they can stay with their families at home and be still available to do some work or to to pursue their dreams or goals, whatever. But still, it requires education, time. I think in case of Pamir, the connection, and it's very interesting. But this is something which which catches me. Thank you.
Thank you. Maiguna.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my mic is working and I'll speak from my phone. I think the main problem that I see nowadays in my surrounding is people are not having good emotional intelligence, and it brings a lot of problems, starting with like misunderstanding between genders, and or even like between like people, I can say, in general. And because of not having good emotional intelligence, people are in most of the cases not responding to people action, or not responding to people's question, but they are reacting because they think that is not it's not something that supposed to be discussed or something. I mean, like, it brings a lot of misunderstanding and not good things. But I think it's a problem. And I think if people will be more emotionally stable, if they will have more, like, better emotional intelligence, there will be less problems that happens within the society. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Nina?
I think for me, the most important problem right now is nationalism. I think that's what gives a spark to many wars and armed conflicts, not even in our region, but overall worldwide. And I think also all of the problems related with ecology, like, global warming and things, people tend to forget about it, but it has impact on our lives. And so we don't talk enough about it, in my opinion.
Thank you, Nina. So actually, since I don't see you, I don't know if somebody wants to answer. Please just do it.
Let's ask Sohail.
Sohail wants raise his hand.
Yeah, my world is full of problems at the moment. I don't know which one I have to share with you, but at the top of the list is our consumer culture, which has affected our education a lot. And as a result, the confidence generally we feel in our ignorance and superficiality, and which can be the cause of many other issues.
Thank you. So if you have some more answers, you always can just switch on your mic and tell. But yeah, Menes?
Yeah, this one I wanted to say something probably is more related to a problem that I would personally face, or maybe my society from where I come from, is due to inflation. So inflation in the past decade or so has caused us to be unable to catch up when it comes to anyone who would want to go work outside, to study outside the country, abroad. For me personally, I found this as a problem. Like, due to inflation, our currency has dropped in value so much that, for example, as I started university, my parents couldn't afford to pay for my university. So I had to first go outside and then after a while find work myself to be able to afford to pay for my own studies. So when a student from my country or anyone from my country tries to go outside, they are unable to rely on whatever salary or that they had in their own country. So that, I guess, inflation has caused a lot of problems to me personally, and a lot of people I know that also had to immigrate outside the country.
Thank you, Menes. Actually, I would love to a little bit describe why I am asking you about your personal issues. Actually, one of the most important impact I would love to leave after our workshop is your feeling and your knowledge about the only one driver of all of what you are doing in your professional life, and not only your daily life, but also on your work, how you use your skills, should be motivated and should be inspired by the things that you are really preoccupied with, by the things that you are really sincerely worried about. So actually, I can say that each year in January, with all the team, we sit around the table for almost whole day, and we are talking about what are the issues we are thinking about, what are the processes that we would love to affect and change using our skills. So actually, I really would love to wish you that you always, in your work, in your projects, in your ideas, in your dialogues with each other and with your colleagues, you always base your activities on the things that you are really feel you wanted, you want to work with that, you want to change it. And I think that nowadays, human rights and society and the processes and even such big problems like migration or inflation, like Menes just said, is not only the business of, I don't know, government or NGOs or lawyers or economics, but also of artists, also of people who do IT, because actually we all have tools to help our world starts to be better. And it would be very much more powerful if you work with the topics that you really, resonate inside your heart and inside your personal life. But the problem is that with sensitive topics, with the topics that can be called, I don't know, social issues, some problems in society, is that actually everybody is preoccupied about them, but nobody wants them. Nobody wants to dive in it deeper. Nobody, like if you go to the shopping mall, for example, you never expect to see exhibition about, I don't know, sick people. You don't have this intention. You don't have motivation. You want to have some fun, to buy new, I don't know, jeans, or to have an ice cream, or to go to the, like, people in their, like, out of the frame of their work, when they travel, when they go somewhere, they are not too much excited to hear about some issues. It's how the mindset of an ordinary person works, and that's actually that's why we all read news. But I think that probably you mentioned, and you could recognize behind yourself, that sometimes it doesn't give you inspiration to change something and then use. And that's where art and visual aesthetics starts to work. That's how the poetry and how interactive visual projects can help. And as I told you before, like when you talk about art, it always has this poetic way of talking about the things. And as I told you before, this project about migration, it was not just a story, about describing the hard sides of migration and the people who leave their homes. It was not the story that was reflecting same things that we could see in the news. It was the stories about parents and children. So inside cinematography, inside literature, inside poetry, inside any art pieces, we always have this figurative key of describing and discovering the topic. And this key helps us not to be so straight and not to be so tough. It creates emotional experience through which we can talk about serious and sometimes sad and sensitive things. So this language, not straight but emotional, which doesn't maybe forwardly reflect the situation, but helps people to feel the relations or to feel the circumstances of other peoples by means of experiencing, for example, what does mean not to see your son for 12 years, for example. So this figurative, it's a way of describing things, helps to be a soft power for these projects. And to be them more wanted than journalistic or pure scientific way of talking about these things. There is also one thing which is quite important, that sensitive topics, when we talk about migrants, refugees, when we talk about, gender violence, when we talk about real life and real people who experience some issues in their life, it's normally not that much safe for them. So because we discover personal lives, and actually art is what helps us by means of poetry, by means of not documentary, by means of some multi-layer, like using sounds, using graphics, using some fiction still, but to hide and to make our subjects feel more safe and not that much visible, those parts of their lives that they don't want to discover, and still to talk about the topic. For example, I would love to show you one project that I already opened for you before, Dreams Behind the Hijab, the project that talked about veiled women. And because it was like 2014, I think, and I started to Google word hijab, and we realized that most of the visual associations with the word hijab in Google is terrorism. And it scared me a lot. I realized that like for many people in Russia, they represent like the picture like this that you see on the screen connects with terrorism. And I realized that it's something that media manipulations and political manipulations do with our minds and do with this media market and informational space where we live, and this is extremely awful. And that what motivated me to work with the topic of hijab as a cultural, religious, and of like ordinary women. And it was the story about hijab as an object. And I wanted to discover and to open what are the women behind the hijab. And but you know that, for example, if you go to to any country where people cover, for example, their faces well, it's not that much easy. Just to go to this girl in the street and ask her, okay, tell me about your story, tell me about your childhood, about your parents, I don't know, about your life, what you like. So there was some kind of a distant problem, and also ethical problem, because I didn't want to place my subjects and these women in the situation that I ask them to talk about the things they don't want to talk or their parents wouldn't like they talk about, and so on. And that's how this conceptual art helps, because what I decided to do is not to discover some like interviews with them, but I asked them to make still lifes. Each woman in this project was searching in her home different objects that were the associations with some important things in her life, about her childhood, the association with her family, the association with her occupation, and etc. And they put these objects associations on the still life, and I made a picture of that. And after that she was describing why she put I don't know, this picture as an object about her childhood, why she put this diary for the occupation. And these texts were not straight. They were very full of poetic. They were describing her inner world. Sorry? Tahmina, you wanted to tell something, or it was just... Okay. So we could get closer to these people by means of these still lives. We could know what they're thinking about, what they are dreaming about, what they feel about, what they want, I don't know, to remember about your childhood. But it was not, it was also a game for them, because it was something like this concept, this conceptual art was not ordinary thing for them, because what I suggested to them is to play a game with these associations and with these objects and to tell these stories, and it was quite engaging and was quite exciting for them as well. So you can see some more about these projects later, and I will go further. Another thing about human rights and working with sensitive topics is that you never know what is going to be after, because you know that a lot of documentaries and a lot of journalistic projects and investigations, and they sometimes doesn't change anything or start to be dangerous for all the participants, or even have a controversial impact. So what we do by means of interactive digital media and the language of visual art is that, like here in this example that you see on the screen, when we were talking about violence in the families and early marriages in Kyrgyzstan, and this NGO that was trying to prevent and to help the victims of female violence, we don't describe the stories of victims. We don't talk straightly about very cruel cases of violence. We talk about values of family in traditional culture of Kyrgyzstan by means of these carpets that mothers are doing and preparing for their children when they dream about the future of their children. By means of describing the stories of old women, how they were preparing these wishes and these ideas of perfect families, perfect relations, perfect love inside families. By means of this soft power, we actually try to affect society to prevent violence. So you can say that definitely this project they don't work very fast. This project need time, but they are much more safe and much more long-term effective in those social issues that we talk about. So now we can say that art and these contemporary shapes, digital shapes of the pieces, are the soft power diplomatic language that we use to deal with human rights as well. So what help us to work with sensitive, with ethics, with security, with diplomacy, we use multimedia language. So we use not only text, like often we can meet in journalism or in news, but we use these multi-channeled interactive things like a lot of combinations of audio, visual, video, graphics, animations. That's what make people get more engaged and more interacted with these products. And what is very important and what I would love to describe separately is about storytelling, because everybody's talking now about storytelling. So, and I think that you definitely know what is it and how to work it. But I would love to say a couple of things about what actually the meaning and the tools of storytelling, how they impact on the projects to gain hearts and minds of the people, and how storytelling actually is not only, it's not only narrative, is not only idea of a concept of how we talk about, is very important communicative things that we gain when we use storytelling. So I would love to tell a couple of words about this. So we know that in story we always have characters, yes. So in each movie, and actually I would love you to always to think of your projects like they are movies. If you talk about the package, about the exhibition, about advertising campaign, about branding as a movie, just try to do this. It's very interesting because this association with some film is very useful when we talk about emotions, when we talk about how deep it affects us mentally, and how it changes us actually as well. Because so the characters, when we talk about characters, actually it's not necessarily people. Characters inside the story also can be forest, or the drop of the rain, or city, or sofa, and also a person, of course. But actually, what role does play to have character inside the story? So the character, the person, for example, or the forest, is somebody who takes our hand and guide us around the story. It's somebody like when you cry, for example, when you watch the movie, why do you cry? Just think of it. Like, when did you last time cry in the cinema? When you cry, or when you're laughing, when you feel strong emotions, you normally feel this strongly because something that happens with character inside the movie, you implement on your own experience and your own life. So you try to associate the character with yourself, and that's why you are crying. That's how psychology, actually, the human psychology works. So the characters is the tool for empathy. The characters make this story your personal story. These are the characters, and what's happening inside the story actually starts to touch you when you see your own reflection in that. So the communication actually works only when you see something that looks like you inside the actually anything in the package, in the interior, in the museum. When you see this, mirror effect, it's about me. Then that's the moment when I start to listen, when I start to be engaged, and when I start to feel something. If it's not about me, I don't want it. That's why you always have to find these bridges between the topic and between the content and those people who are going to watch this or use it. The second thing about the story is that is very important is this start and end, this the beginning and the finish of the story. But it's very interesting thing, like at the start of anything, of the book, of the website, of the speech, of the lecture, of event, of performance, whatever. The first part of any art piece is where your people make the decision if they want to be inside this or they don't want to be inside this, if they want to dive in it and to be part of it or they don't. And you could very often see this effect during somebody's lectures and workshops, when some lecturer starts to talk with you and everybody are, in phones or some conference. And then in these first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, everybody's listening and then raise their eyes and start this dialogue and start to listen. And the end of the story and end of the project, whatever it is, as I said before, it could be, an application, a game, a exhibition, a book, whatever. Finish of the story is responsible of the impact. And it's the most important part, actually, of any project. So, and I always say that real effect of any social project starts when the user stops to use it. When you close your laptop, when you switch off your phone, when you leave, cinema or museum or lecture, that's the moment when the project starts to work. And what you have left in your mind and in your heart, just remember, what is the last movie that you really, that impressed you a lot and how it changed you. So actually this something that was left inside you, this is the impact of the project, not what you described in the concept. And here I would love to show you one very interesting project. I think that probably later after our workshop, you could find it in internet and see some more pictures and more publications about that. Is a project by art group IS+F, and they are extremely famous and very, very known around the world. They live in United States. They are Russians, but they live in United States, and they started their artistic career in 90s. So really quite long. And their works were exhibited in all museums around the world. And they always work with very tough social issues in their performances and their visualizations. And this project was extremely interesting. It was in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. And since many of you talked about in help me please, inequality. This project would be even more interesting for you. So what did they do conceptually? They took 6 girls who were imprisoned for when they were 16. because of some small, I don't know, something small that they did. I don't know, they stole something, or they were drinking alcohol, like in the school or something. So they were imprisoned. And 6 girls, same age, 16 years old, from the very famous and very outstanding luxury college, which were only children of very statused families were studying. And so they had 12 girls of 16, 6 from prison and 6 from this elite college. And they asked these girls, we can make any makeup and any style that you want. Please choose any look you want, and we do it and make a portrait of you. And since they were girls of 16, they all were representing themselves in a look-like way. So they all wanted, I don't know, pink lipstick, I don't know, some jeans and some haircut that was fashionable in 90s. And they did these 12 portraits. And then they made an exhibition where they suggested people to guess. So all the portraits had numbers. And when you entered this exhibition, you had to make a guess. Who was the girl from prison and who was the girl from elite college? And it was extremely strange experience for people, for visitors of this exhibition, because it was very skillful to do this guess. And it was absolutely impossible to make this guess, because all these girls looked totally not same, but same on their style. So they were just 16 years old girls. The very important ethic moment in this project is that IS plus F never told the truth. So they never reopened who was who. They only placed visitors of this exhibition in this situation of impossibility to judge people only because of their look. And this was very, very powerful experience for visitors. So let's back to the topic of story. And what here I would love to say that very important thing for the story inside and for any project. Look, even when you are writing email, it's very important that the text moves you, each sentence, each word moves you somewhere, moves you and helps you to understand why we are moving from the very beginning to the very end. And you never can cut anything, because each detail helps you to experience this travel from the start to impact. The next very important thing for the story is the conceptual system, is the language that you choose to talk about. And I can say that in each project, you create new language. It's not about, I don't know, photography or texts or videos or sounds. It's always, each project is a new language that you start to talk with your audience. And here I would love to show you a little bit more from this project, which calls Awakening the Earth. And this project actually is about women role in folklore. Many of you told about female role and in gender inequality. So I really recommend you to see this project, because it's very interesting, will be for you and for others also. So we did a really big research. What was how was described female role in Russian folklore? and in Russian traditional culture. And then what we did, we described the girl's story from the very beginning, when she just is born to this world, and to the very end when she is old woman. We describe this story based on folklore, but we mix it with some stories from contemporary women, where they describe what is for them to be a woman today in the contemporary world. And here is a very interesting combination, how we mix traditional culture with contemporary and bridge the past and the present or the future, and how we help audience to use identity and to use cultural codes to form their visions and to form their attitude to some issues. It's how, and actually many of our projects aims to bridge the gap between traditional culture that and give the answer, why do we need I don't know, folklore, fairy tales, carpets, I don't know, whatever, legends. So how they connect to our future and our contemporary problems, and how we can use this wisdom and this cultural code to help us to develop our professional, personal imagination and education. And this project, as you see, has very contemporary visual language, despite the fact it has super traditional and archaic text inside. But combining this, animations and all what they have, and that we also have a lot of things that we can, for example, we can do some interactive things, or we can dive in some different layers of the projects. We can use different audios here, and all of these things help us to understand and to have deeper and more multi-dimensional imagination and knowledge about the topic. So that's how technology and how multimedia, it's not just for fun. It's not just a tool that we have to use. It's the way to engage people really deep and to make them do their own research inside your project. So I would go back to my presentation. So this language, this visual language, so each project actually is some kind of the reflection of your own feeling and your own representation of the topic. So normally when we're talking about the projects, we talk about these 5 questions that you already know about the importance of them, like who we are doing this project, for whom we are doing, what we are talking about, how we are using the visual and textual tools and technology to gain, but also why. So what is the mission? What is the reason we are working with this? And I would love to say that normally is not only 1 why, but actually 3 why. And it's also very, very important thing to remember. And here maybe we also go back to the beginning of our meeting. When I asked you about your personal attitudes to the world around you and your personal issues that you feel about society, because the first why is why me? Why I am doing this today? Why I want to talk about that? Why me? The second one is actualization. Yes, why this topic has to be developed today. in this way and today, why the world needs it. But this is quite clear. But the third one, why audience? This is the most interesting, I think, and most important thing. Normally, when we are doing projects and we are talking about some, I don't know, issues or try to share some ideas, we start from ourselves. So I think it's important. That's why I'm going to talk about that. But you always have to think your product, your project, your message, how it's going to help to your audience. What problems, what issues have your audience, and how your project and how your product can help them. It's not about your personal attitude and your personal desire just to, I don't know, to express yourself. It's about how you can solve somebody's problem using your own personal attitudes, experience, and visual language and all that. So communication is always, as I said before, like in these projects and about when we're talking about society and in any situation, actually, when we're talking about dialogue, the dish in the restaurant is talking to me is also a dialogue. The person in the wardrobe in university is a dialogue. So actually, dialogue is the most valuable and most and strongest tool for peaceful society. Actually, when people can talk to each other, as you said before about emotional intellect, when people are able to talk and to build the dialogue, the society starts to be much more safe and much more wealth and much more effective in what they are doing. In economics as well. Economics works much better in the society which is able to build the dialogue. But the dialogue is only possible when two people, or I don't know, me and some product, vitamins T, talking to each other, only when we have something in common. Only when your product or project has something that reflects me. So, for example, I ask Aikakul, I don't know, Aikakul tells me that she's in Kyrgyzstan now, for example, asks me something, and I tell her, I was in Bishkek like 10 times probably, because I was doing a lot of projects for them. And she's, wow, really? And that's how dialogue starts, because we have this something in common, right? So, and all these links, I call them pink bridges. We have to implement it in the project so the dialogue starts. If no bridges, no talk, no motivation to know each other, to get closer and to have any emotional sharing. And about the impact, the last thing that I would love to tell in my workshop today is that you always think very clearly about the question of impact. What is going to happen when your product is released? You finished your job, everything is great, you did nice job, nice, package, nice documentary, nice piece of art. What next? People start to use it. What's happening with them? What's going to change in their life, in their mindsets, and how they are talking? And that's what has to be described before you start the project. You have to make this scenario which starts after your product is released. And actually, there are only 3 main types of impact in any project, actually, and in social as well. Is a knowledge. So you pass the knowledge to people, but it's very interesting that people, like human beings, take as knowledge only those things that they know how they are going to use it. If I use some information. I see some information in the museum, during the lecture, or whatever, in the book, but I don't know how I can use it and why it's effective for me. I don't associate it as a knowledge. It's a very important. So each project has to actualize the things that you are talking about. You have to make this bridge between the things you are sharing and the audience perception of these things. The second type of impact is experience. Is very important. If you place your audience by means of any product in experiencing something, and it's even so interesting that when I was in the jury of World Press Photo in nomination of Digital Interactive, for each jury member there was a special paper describing shortly each project, and then I mentioned a very nice text near each project: experience time. It was not about reading time. It was not about, watching time. It was about experience time. How long you have to experience it to have experience. And experience can be emotional or physical, but actually experience is what actually have very strong power to affect human's mind. Because in our memory, we keep the things that gave us strong experience, whatever it is, actually negative or positive. You can remember that very often negative experience affected you a lot as well. The third type of impact is action, and it's one of the most important and most difficult to reach this, is what person is going to do after using your project or product. What happened? I start to, I go and buy something, or I start to call somebody, or I want to change my job, or I want to, to read this book, or I want to transfer money to somebody. So what action is motivated by your project is also it's also the very important part of the plan when you only start to do something. And the last thing that, when I want to finish with this nice picture, maybe you soon have lunchtime, so it will have some inspiration as well. So what you see on the screen now is called thali. Is an Indian very ordinary dish. But the nice and very interesting thing about this dish is that it consists of all types of tastes that human being is able to experience: salty, warm, cold, sugar, sour, sweet, hot, spicy. So thali has to touch all the channels of your ability to taste food. And furthermore, you have to eat thali with your fingers, not with a spoon or a fork. So it's also a tactile channel which is included in this communication with the food. So multimedia, when we talk about multimedia technologies, interactive technologies, we have to design it as a thali, this dish, so that it touch every channel and every emotional ability of a human being to create this multi-sensor experience on all the layers that we can do. Yeah, so it was the last thing that actually I wanted to share. And now I would be really super happy to hear your questions, comments, whatever.
Thanks a lot, Ksenia. I'm a teacher, but I learned a lot today too. And my main question is how to drive the public, especially younger generation, to websites in the era of social media. How do you do this?
Actually, the projects that I showed you, they live on websites, but they are, for their genre, they are not websites. Yes, we can call it, I don't know, scroll, interactive film, or I don't know, like we can think of different types of genres. And it's really hard to invite young people to experience, and not only for young people, for any type of audience. It's very hard because there is no habit to spend 1.5 hours with something which is on internet, because normally we do it very fast and we really get used to scroll, to scroll, not to dive. So, but I think that all the things that I was talking during the workshop about this, the importance of communication, the importance of building these bridges, because when we talk about something that has to be interesting for young people, we first have to go to young people and talk to them and know who they are and what they are thinking of. And if we realize and we know and we learn what is very painful and important for them right now, we can make 5 hours project and they will be engaged because you talk with them directly about the things that they are preoccupied with. If you do just some interactive, fashionable, great digital project, but you don't touch them, you don't give them answers on the things that they are really need now. So I really think that it's not a question of media, it's the question of content and this language of communication that you choose.
Yeah, and with your project about tushkis, I remember everyone started to post the meanings of the patterns because you did it together with Open Line, together with a local Kyrgyzstani NGO, and it was really interesting how the website content went viral on social media in Central Asia, especially in Kyrgyzstan, the meanings of the patterns. And yeah, I can also share it with my students later, your project. And also we have a question from Derika Orgazieva.
Yeah, I will. I want to add something. You mentioned a very important thing also, that multi-platform way of presenting the project is also the super important tool to gain the audience and to engage them. So it's not only about one big project, but also about a lot of small products and sub-projects that you can make, I don't know, like different streams, only, I don't know, audio track lists. So small publications in, I don't know, Telegram society that you create as some accordance to the project. So this multifunctional and multi-platform language definitely is needed when we are talking about promotion of the project, and especially some social issues. Darika, thanks a lot for your presentation. Have got a question about the platforms that you use to create your artworks. If you mean some like technology decisions, we actually, in most of the project, we have a mix of ReadyMark and our own production. So we have part of the team that is doing programming of these websites, but normally the base of the project is done on ReadyMark. Maybe you have some more questions. Rustam, yes, please.
Thank you very much, Ksenia, for the presentation. It was really amazing. I really enjoyed your accomplishments. And this is really good that you try to cover topics that most usually journalists try to avoid. And my question to you is that, have you ever get chased or get to the risky situation when you try to cover controversial topics and they wanted you to hide the truth or not cover it on your website?
Yeah, it's a very good and deep question, actually, Rustam. Thank you. That's I think I never would go to be a journalist, and so I was studying for artist, so and from the very beginning I was using the language of artwork and for poetic language to talk about social issues. So that's the tool, and that's the way we are talking about hard things, but that help us to avoid, these black and white visions, and that's very straightforward messages as well. And that's which make us also to be more safe in some controversial topics. But actually, I can say that when I did this first project, our big project about migration in the cold, the publications, a lot of publications was published in different media, and there were a lot of very cruel and very controversial comments and discussions around the audience. And also when we did the exhibition in a shopping mall about people with mental disabilities, there were also some cases when people were, saying really very bad things, like people with mental diseases have to be killed. They have not spoiled our society. There were such cases, but in general, I would say that this poetic and artistic way of talking about these things make more diplomatic and more not that much straightforward messages. And in our project, we leave a lot of space for people to make their decisions about the topic. We never tell, the truth. There are no truth in our projects that, we just try to push people to accept. We do them experience that help them to think of the topic. That's why, like this.